Hey, my name is Kim. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to make a video today for Media Monday. I haven't made one for a while, but I really wanted to make one to talk about the first episode of Under the Bridge. Which is based on the murder of Rena Virk. This case is, I don't want to say special to me, important to me as someone who grew up in Victoria, which is where the murder happened. I remember vividly when it happened. I remember my parents being absolutely dumbfounded by it. And I remember just, everyone talked about it for years and years and years, and still do sometimes. But it's just one of those cases that I've never forgotten about. And so when I found out that they were doing a drama series on it, I was pretty excited. I was really looking forward to seeing the events portrayed in that form. And so I've watched just the first episode because here in Canada, only the first episode is available on Disney+. I don't think we have access to Hulu here, so I haven't been able to watch along with everybody else. And the first episode just came out last Wednesday, so I watched it 5 days ago. But I am so impressed by how they did with representing the events that have happened, or the events that happened. It is just beautifully, artfully done. The acting is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. The music is amazing. It is, and one thing that I really like seeing is my home city portrayed on the screen. It is so cool to see Victoria portrayed in a huge series like this. But anyways, so this case, it's one that no person from Victoria would ever forget. And while I was really excited to see it portrayed on the screen, it was also weird. It was sort of, I don't want to say it was traumatizing, but it was, triggering. There's the word I'm looking for. It felt very triggering to see the story told that way. And I think they did a beautiful, artful job so far, just in the first episode I've seen. But just knowing that something like this happened so close to where you grew up, and just remembering how everyone felt when it happened, and it's just so strange. And while I said before it's cool to see my home city on screen, it's also really weird to see it as the setting and backdrop of such a horrific murder. It's just crazy. I honestly never thought about how people felt when shows were adapted about murders that happened in their hometowns. Literally never thought about it at all, but now I understand. And I will finish the show. I don't think I'll cover every single episode, but I might cover the finale or something with my final thoughts. But I really, really wanted to jump on and make a video telling everyone, go watch this. All Canadians, go watch this. Rena just absolutely deserves for her story to be told. Her family deserves for the story to be told. And I do think they're okay with it because in the research I did, I wrote a paper on this case in university. They were very big on educating people about bullying and what it can lead to. So I think they would be okay with this story being told. Anyways, let's start with the cast. So first we have Riley Keough as Rebecca Godfrey, and Lily Gladstone as Cam. So Cam is supposed to be the police officer investigating the case. She didn't actually exist in real life, though. I think she's meant to be sort of a composite character intended to represent all the police officers that investigated the case. Whereas Riley Keough's character, Rebecca Godfrey, did exist, and she did go in and interview the girls while they were in prison and talk to them. So really, really interesting role that she played in that as a journalist. We have Ritika Gupta, I think, as Rena, and oh my gosh, she is beautiful and she is an amazing actress. I've never seen her in anything before, but the way she's able to show us how Rena must have felt in her final moments, just from a look, she has some skills. I'm excited to see her in other shows. Chloe Guidry as Josephine. Her real name was actually Nicole Cook. Her name was changed because she wasn't tried as an adult, so she couldn't be identified in anything press related. But we now know her name is Nicole Cook. This actress just gives me chills to watch. Like, she is so good at just showing how cold and hardened these girls were, right? I think most of them never actually expressed any form of remorse for what they did to Rena. So it's so scary that kids that young could be that hardened. But yeah, she's doing a great job at showing Nicole / Josephine's character. Something else that I thought to add while I was editing is that the creators of the show actually made a point to cast actors who were the same age as the girls who originally committed the murders. So the girl who plays Josephine / Nicole, she's actually only 17, and Vritika is a similar age as well. And they did have like trauma counselors and all that on set to help talk them through this heavy subject matter, but that just makes their performances even more impressive. Izzy G as Kelly, she looks, we haven't seen much of her yet actually in the first episode. I'm really excited to see more about her later on. Interesting tidbit here actually. So my uncle used to be a juvie prison guard, and he had the task, I don't think he guarded her regularly, but she was in his prison for a bit, like in between her trial dates or something. And so he guarded Kelly Ellard for a bit, and he said out of all the kids that he worked with, most of them he had hope that they could change, and that's specifically why he worked in a juvie instead of an adult prison. He said that she terrified him, that she was just like dead inside and a straight just psychopath, and he was scared of her. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people who have talked about spending time with her, that she was just cold and dead inside. And it just makes you wonder what happened to these kids that got them that way. That's something I never thought about much when I was younger, but now being older, being a high school teacher, I want to know what made them this way. And that's something I'm looking forward to as I watched through this mini series, just seeing how they ended up this way. One thing I didn't know is that the girls had lived in a group home together. I didn't realize that. I thought they just went to school together. And just in watching the first episode, it's clear that they don't have parental figures that they can count on, right? So I think that plays a big part in this, but anyways, very interested to know more. We have Jaron Walton as Warren Glowatsky, and he looks just like him. We haven't seen much of his role yet either. I think they wanted to deliberately mislead the audience in the first episode, make us think that Josephine / Nicole is the murderer, but if you're familiar with the real life case, you'll know that that's not true. Spoiler alert in case you don't know much about the real case, but they haven't shown us much about the real murderers yet. The music in the show, okay, so music and the stylistic choices, the wardrobe choices are spectacular. Such a 90s sort of feel, and not like TV show 90s, like real life 90s. This is how people looked growing up and how they dressed, how they acted. The slang is correct. I am a big fan of that part of the show so far. I love when Rena gets her Biggie CD and brings it over to her friend, the group home, and despite how that turned out, just loved watching them jump around, dancing and singing to it. There's a sense of nostalgia despite the content of this show for me. And then at the end, so up to the end, we've just seen Rena beaten under the bridge, and then it ends with her walking over the bridge. And Rebecca Godfrey, Riley Keough's character, goes and visits Josephine / Nicole in prison, or not in prison, in the jail where she's being held to be questioned. And the song that plays is Something in the Way by Nirvana, and it is such a perfect choice. Anything by Nirvana, instant nostalgia, perfect for this scene. It has the line about under the bridge too in it, and I just love it. And I've had that song stuck in my head for the last 5 days, along with the scene of Riley Keough's character just looking at Josephine / Nicole. And it just leaves you wondering, why? How did this happen? What happened to these kids? What made them like this? What made them so violent, so angry? I am, like I've said before, I'm really interested to know more about that. One thing that is sort of kind of funny about the show is how it represents Victoria. So Victoria is pretty big. It's not like Vancouver big, Calgary big, Toronto big, but it's big. In the show, it sort of makes it seem like Victoria is this small town, and they're driving through these rundown areas, and those areas do exist in Victoria, and I'm sure were even worse in the 90s. View Royal has gotten a lot nicer. But it makes it seem like it happened in a small town, and it really didn't. Victoria was pretty big. But like others have said, when this happened, Victoria, while it wasn't so small, it suddenly felt very small, right? So maybe they're just trying to play up that aspect of it for the viewer. But just for some context, Victoria itself, you'll hear reference throughout that first episode, is a part of Greater Victoria. So a lot of time when people say Victoria, they're actually referring to Greater Victoria. And Greater Victoria is comprised of View Royal, Esquimalt, Victoria, Sydney, Souk even, Metchosin, Langford, I think I already said View Royal. So, and it's big. Today, the population of the Greater Victoria area is 400,000 people, and in 1997, it was 300,000 people. So, just for context, pretty big city. But like I said, maybe the creators wanted to play up the whole small town sort of feel for the viewers' sake. So like I've said, I've been really familiar with this case for a long time, and I've written about it in university. I've read literature on it, read countless news articles on it. It's still so strange to see it portrayed in film, right? And it's weird. I wasn't expecting to feel so triggered by it. I usually don't get that way after watching shows or reading books or whatever. There's not much that bothers me. But watching it now is strange because I was a kid when this happened. And as Kelly's trial was progressing, her trial took place from she had 3 different trials, I think, went from 1997 to finally being convicted in 2005. And I remember following it, and she was finally convicted when I was about 15. I think I would have been at the time. And so it's just weird because it brings back how I felt as a teenager when all this was happening. Watching it as an adult is different, but especially because I now have my own 12-year-old. And so watching it now, I just can't help but imagine something like that happening to my 12-year-old. For me, it's so hard to watch anything or hear about anything bad happening to kids, specifically my kids' ages. I think I would really like, once the show is finished, I want to finish watching it through myself first. I would like to watch it with my 12-year-old. She's mature for her age, but I really think that it would be a good experience for me to watch it with her, explain to her how it was for everyone when this case first happened, and just talk about some of the real dangers of bullying. Like, I think when a lot of people think of bullying, you think of it being like, just getting picked on for the clothes you wear, pushed into a locker. It really can escalate to so much more than that, And it's even worse now with social media because kids just can't escape each other, right? And I think that's part of why this case became so famous and was so mesmerizing and horrific for people, is because kids did this because bullying went unchecked. Kids did this because they were angry, because they didn't have support from adults, right? And it would be great just to kind of have more conversations about what could prevent this happening again in the future, right? I think that's the real. And that's what Rena's parents would have wanted too. They spent a lot of time touring schools during anti-bullying campaigns, talking about what happened to their daughter. They even reconciled with Warren Glowatsky, who is now out on parole. He has been for a long time, since 2010, and he's done a lot of work as well on himself. Anyways, I hope that this show helps kind of with a resurgence of those sorts of conversations, if that makes sense, so that some good can come out of such a horrific thing that has happened. And I honestly cannot believe that this was, 25 years ago? No, 27 years ago. I still remember this happening like it was yesterday. I remember during one of Kelly's first trials. Everyone was mad that it ended in it was a mistrial. Yeah, everyone was really angry about that because it was clear that she had done it. And I remember being at the petting zoo with my family, and me and my dad walking and just talking about this case and, you know, our disbelief over it. So this case really deeply affected everyone in Victoria at the time. Seeing it on screen is such a strange experience, but I think it's so important that more people learn about her case. And so anyways, so that's all I have for this first episode. I didn't have much of an outline, so I was sort of rambling, so I apologize for that. But I will do another episode, I think, on this after the finale comes out, just with my final thoughts on the mini-series as a whole. I hope that you consider watching it. It's an important story. But yeah, if you have anything to add about this case or this mini-series in my comments, please go ahead, and thanks so much for watching.